When you're standing in the kitchen trying to decide whether to upgrade your oven, the hesitation usually isn't about style, it's about whether the new appliance will actually make life easier or just add another set of buttons you'll never use. I've spent the last few weeks looking at a handful of mid-range wall ovens, reading the specs, scrolling through the handful of Amazon reviews, and even watching a couple of cooking demos on YouTube. The goal was to find something that feels like a genuine upgrade without blowing the budget. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The SC5MAR4G Cuffed Smart Single Electric Wall Oven is positioned as a great tool at a great price. That promise is tempting because it sits in the sweet spot between the entry-level models that feel cheap and the high-end units that come with a price tag that makes most homeowners think twice. What matters most is whether the features it advertises, fan convection and an air fry mode, translate into real-world benefits when you're cooking a weekday dinner or prepping a weekend bake sale. First, let's talk about the size. At 4.7 cuffed, the interior is big enough for a standard 9-inch pizza, a couple of sheet pans side by side, or a medium-sized turkey. If you regularly feed a family of 4 or 5, you'll find it handles most main-course meals without needing to shuffle dishes around. However, it isn't a monster oven, so a large holiday ham or multiple casserole dishes might still require a second pass. That's something to keep in mind if you host big gatherings often. You may end up using a countertop roaster or an extra oven anyway. The convection fan is where the smart claim starts to make sense. In practice, the fan circulates hot air so you get more even browning on a roast or a batch of cookies. I tested it with a simple chicken breast and a tray of frozen French fries. The chicken cooked through in about 20 minutes, with the skin turning crispy without the need to flip halfway. The fries, which normally need a toss when baked, came out uniformly golden using the built-in air fry setting. For people who already own a separate air fryer, this could replace that appliance, saving counter space and an extra piece of kitchen clutter. One of the concerns that pops up in the reviews I read is the learning curve of the smart controls. The oven connects to Wi-Fi and can be managed through an app, which sounds futuristic until you realize you have to remember a separate password, update firmware, and occasionally troubleshoot connectivity. If you're comfortable with smart home devices, think thermostats or lighting, this will feel like a natural extension. If you're more of a turn the knob and go type, you might spend a few evenings wrestling with the interface before you get to the point where you can set a timer and walk away. The app does let you monitor cooking progress and adjust temperature remotely, which is handy when you're juggling a pot on the stove, but it's not a deal breaker if you prefer manual control. Stainless steel finishes have a way of attracting fingerprints, and this model is no exception. The print-proof coating does claim to reduce smudges, and I did notice that a quick wipe with a damp cloth kept the surface looking decent after a week of use. If you have a high-traffic kitchen where multiple people are constantly opening the oven, you may find yourself reaching for a cleaning spray more often than you'd like. It's a small trade-off for the sleek look, but worth mentioning for anyone who is particular about aesthetics. Cleaning the interior is another practical point. The oven's self-cleaning feature is absent, which means you'll rely on the traditional wipe-down method. The enamel coating inside is fairly smooth, so spills of sauce or melted butter wipe away without much scrubbing. However, because the oven lacks a steam clean cycle, stubborn caramelized bits from a roast may need a bit more elbow grease. If you're the type who cooks a lot of sugary glazes or sauces that can burn, you might need to budget a little extra time for cleanup. Energy consumption is often glossed over in product descriptions, but the electric nature of this oven makes it a predictable addition to your monthly bill. The convection fan actually helps reduce cooking times by about 1,520% compared to a conventional bake, which can offset some of the electricity usage. For households that already have a gas range, adding an electric wall oven introduces a different energy source, so you'll want to consider whether your utility rates make that a worthwhile mix. Now, who should consider buying this unit? If you're a mid-size household that wants a modern oven with convection and air fry capabilities without stepping into premium pricing, this is a solid candidate. It works well for everyday meals, think roasted vegetables, baked fish, or a batch of muffins, and the air fry mode adds flexibility for quick snacks without heating a separate appliance. It also appeals to the tech-savvy cook who enjoys monitoring food from a phone and appreciates the ability to start